Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to wait another minute just to get a few more people on. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight. Myself, Vaidehi, Kim, and Nicole are all here, and we're here to thank you for coming and thank you for listening to everything we have to say. I would like to first start with a land acknowledgement. So we meet, work, play, live, and attend this meeting on the unceded lands of the Kwantlen, Katzie, Matsui, and Samuel First Nations. So again, we have our coordinators, Vaidehi, and Vaidehi covers Brookswood Secondary, Langley Fundamental. We have Kim. Kim covers Walnut Grove area, Langley Fine Arts, and DW Poppy. Nicole covers Langley Secondary School, RE Mountain, and I cover ACSS or Alder Grove Community Secondary School. I want to first off just thank you for being a homestay in our program. It means a lot to us when you open up your homes and inviting international students into your lives and into your lives as family members. And I think it's so important to mention that you're doing that and that there are families that are going that extra distance, and that's super important to mention. We have a few new items that I would like to talk about. The new items on the list are the homestay agreement. So we've been working behind the scenes in our program to work on an agreement that that will help us move forward in creating a better homestay handbook and homestay agreement. And so when we're finished this, our coordinators are going to set a time with you, probably only a 15-minute follow-up meeting to go in, and we'll have the homestay agreement signed. So that should be done. A rough timeline for that will be in about a week or so, and then we'll start to kind of plan and organize some meetings to meet you. Your homestay coordinator will have the book signed, and then we'll take a copy of that signed booklet. The last thing that I want to mention is that we are increasing our homestay fees, and they're going up in September of 2023 to $1,050 per. So that's exciting news. I'm going to invite Nicole up to come and speak in 1 minute, but I just wanted to thank you again for being homestays. I think I've been a homestay for several years. I've had 13 students come into my home, and one of the best things that I remember as being a homestay is how everything was new again, and that everything was new again. Like every family procedure, all the jokes that I told, all the places we went to, and the activities that we did, they were all new again. And this is really important to remember, because our kids, when they come to the houses, everything is new to them, and they struggle with finding how to maneuver around all that newness and all the procedures that you have in your home. So I think that's important to remember as a homestay. So when our kids come, they come and they're looking for a place of belonging, and we just want to thank you for being that place of belonging. So I'm now going to invite up Nicole, and she's going to speak.
Hello. So welcome everyone. It's nice to have you all here. I get the fun task of talking to you about district homestay rules, which of course you all know, but sometimes we just need to go over some reminders and why we have certain rules in place and things like that. So first thing I'm going to talk about is curfew. I think we all know curfew during the week, so Sunday to Thursday is 8 p.m. if students are younger than the age of 16, and 9 p.m. when students are 16 and older. Friday and Saturday is 11 p.m. So it's really important that we stick to these curfews, because what happens is, for instance, when one homestay is allowing their student to stay out every weekend until midnight, it puts other homestays in a really difficult position, because when another homestay is trying to follow the rules, yet another one isn't, and then the students come back and say, well, my friend, they get to stay out till midnight every weekend, it really makes it difficult for that homestay who's really trying to follow the rules. And then what happens is the homestay coordinators, we get the phone calls from families who are upset saying, you know, I'm really trying to stick to the rules of the program, and this other homestays are always allowing their students to stay out late, and it's putting me in a really difficult position. So I just like to try and remind everyone that for the most part, students should be following curfew every night. There are a few exceptions to that. I know there's been grad crews recently, there's grad events, there's maybe sporting events, things like that. There's always going to be those little exceptions, but for the most part, if you could please try and stick as closely to curfew as possible, that would be great. If you're struggling with at all with your student following curfew, or if they're continuously pushing those boundaries, you let your homestay coordinator know so that we can handle the situation together. Next topic is drugs and alcohol. I think we all know that drugs and alcohol are not permitted in our program whatsoever. When we conducted our orientations at the school with the students, this is always one topic that I always personally tell my students, if you take anything home from this meeting, this is it. Because if you are caught with drugs or alcohol, using it, or maybe your students coming home smelling like it, that's an immediate call to your homestay coordinator or to the emergency line. Students will be sent to their home country if they are caught doing these things. And it's really important not to hide this information or say to your student, okay, I'll give you another chance, that kind of thing. It's something we need to know about right away, because when other students find out that so-and-so got away with it, it just creates a snowball effect, and it's not good. Students will be sent back to their home country, no refund of their tuition. And so it's a really, I mean, I've dealt with it a few times, and we've been really, really fortunate this last year and a bit. It's been pretty good. But it's always hard. I know, you know, there's still kids, and kids make mistakes sometimes and push boundaries, but we really need them to be sticking to these rules. It's really important. And then next is sleepovers. So yes, your student may have a sleepover. It may only be with another Langley School District homestay family. So if your homestay coordinator has not done so yet, they will be sending out a contact list of all homestay families in your area. So when your student comes to you on a Friday night and says, I want to have a sleepover at Susie's house on Saturday, my suggestion would be to check the list, make sure that family is on the list as a district homestay. If you aren't sure, contact your homestay coordinator. We can tell you if they are. And then the next thing I would suggest is phoning that other homestay just to ensure the plan. You don't want to just take your student's word for it, especially if you don't know the other family. You want to ensure like drop-off pickup times, things like that. I would not rely on texting back and forth with the other homestay family. And the reason I say that is that kids can be tricky sometimes, and they may give you the wrong number. They may give you the phone number of a friend, and you think you're texting another homestay family, but really you're texting their friend who lives in Vancouver, and then they're going to go stay there that weekend. And it only happened to me once where that happened, and we had to deal with that situation, but I really do suggest a phone call instead of texting, especially until you get to know that other family and that trust and relationship is there. And then, oh, also about that contact list, what I was just going to say, I think Kim will talk about it a little bit more, but some families are teachers in the districts or maybe police officers, things like that. You don't want your personal information included. We will be sending out an email first before the contact list goes out, just to make sure that everyone's okay with that personal information being shared. It would really just be your name, address, and contact information. And then my last topic is about attendance. So attendance to school is mandatory. Your students should not be missing school for any other reason than if they are legitimately sick. We always around, Black Friday and Christmas or different celebrations or cultural events, we have students always asking, I want to go shopping Black Friday, I'm going to take the day off school, things like that. Those are not acceptable reasons to be missing school. Only when the student is sick can they miss school. If your student ends up being sick for some time and, a couple days and they're continuously missing school, we will make them see a doctor. And then if it's recurring absences, like, or if they're sleeping in a lot and always missing first block, things like that, those are things that need to be brought to our attention. And when you're getting those phone calls from the school saying your student missed class A and B, if that's happening quite often, please keep us in the loop about stuff like that, because the attendance is dealt with at the school level by the school coordinator, but they have hundreds of students, so they're not always right on top of every student's attendance. So at least if you can bring it to our attention, it's something we can get onto right away. If your student is sick, then you would be required to phone the school office, not our office, and report your student sick so that you don't get those phone calls. And again, when you're calling in to excuse the student, that's an excused absence. If you don't think your student's sick or you've told them to go to school, but they don't, things like that, you don't have to call the school to excuse it, and then it'll become an unexcused absence, and we can track those in case further absences. So that's my rules for the program that I wanted to kind of talk about. And now I would like to introduce Vaidehi. I know it's a tricky one to say. It took me a while too, but it's pronounced Vaidehi. And here you go. Welcome.
Okay. So our next segment talks about life at home. The most common themes we come across on a daily basis are related to food and meal prep, how to find a middle ground with your student, spending time with your student, and open communication and boundary settings. Now, it is okay if you do things differently. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. So these are just some suggestions. Food is a central part of any travel experience. Everyone's comfort food is connected to someone or somewhere. You're getting a very real insight into your student's life and vice versa when you share your meals. It is also a part of your identity, so it is important that you eat. So like I said, food can either make or break your bond. It is okay to communicate your expectations about what can be expected and how life in Canada is very different from saying a no politely whenever necessary. I know it is hard to say no to your students, especially when they're homesick. But like when we do our homestay orientation, I always tell my family, you do not have to change your lifestyle to accommodate all of their preferences. One of the most effective ways is making a grocery list together, giving them an option to share their preferences. This shows the student that you care, and it also helps them feel important and a part of your family. So I would always say if you can accommodate 5 of their preferred items on your list, that goes a lot. Also rotating items as per availability in the stores, managing expenses using apps such as Flip, and having meals together at least 4. If you have meals together with them, you kind of understand their preferences, whether they're liking the food or not, and then you can have an opportunity to share that over spending time with your student? Do you share a connection? Whether it's your first time or if you've been doing this for a while, it is okay if you don't feel the same connection with every student you host. Just like there are different kinds of homestay families, there are different kinds of students with different personalities. It is the quality of those everyday interactions which matter, and it's not the quantity. So it is necessary that you spend some time every week just to check in with them, and you don't need to plan big fancy trips to know that you care. I have a slide with few ideas. So you can, for example, go on camping trips. You can celebrate their birthdays. This one is very special for students because they're already away from their home. And when you remember special days like those, it makes them feel very welcome. Farmers market is a good one. Movie nights when the weather gets cold, barbecue dinners, whether you are doing it with your extended family or with your friends, always ask them, send them an invitation and make them a part of it. And it's okay if they don't be a part of it as well. Hiking, Christmas tree decorations, baking. A lot of Canadian families like to bake. So it is okay if, you try to ask them their preferences and kind of, do that together with them. Board games, coffee dates, and it can also be something as simple as taking an evening stroll together to the coffee shop. So I wanted to briefly touch on this topic, effective cross-cultural communication. I remind myself on a daily basis that these students are here to practice their English. Many a times I have noticed they translate everything in their mind first in their local language, and often the message is lost in translation. So here are some tips. Keep it simple, write it down if needed, and active listening is your best friend. Do not assume that everything you say has been reached the student. Ask clarifying questions. If you try to tell them an address, for example, if you try to tell them a homestay rule, ask them clarifying questions such as, do you understand this? Or ask them questions just so that they can clarify the timings and you all are on the same page. Use I statements. This one is my favorite. It's very effective when you communicate your feelings. For example, I feel respected when you text me about your whereabouts versus I expect you to text me about your whereabouts. These two sentences can have very different and big impact on the way you bond with your student. Context and meaning is subjective. By this, I mean that when you're trying to tell them something, let's say, just in a very complicated English sentence, they will have their meaning assigned to it according to their own cultures. And more often it is lost in translation, like I said before. And remember, there will be rough patches. You are their role models to practice conversational English, and it is absolutely okay to make mistakes. The next slide talks about boundary settings. And I think this slide is very important because by deciding to be a homestay family, you are taking up additional responsibility. And additional responsibility means additional care. It is natural to feel overwhelmed, but we want you to know that we're here to support you at every step and mediate things if necessary. I absolutely love it when my families call me and tell me that, Vaidehi, I'm just having a tough time and I need extra support. And I always say this line to my families. If you start feeling like this is a stressful job, then you probably need more support, and that's not how we want you to feel. So yes, engaging in self-care is important. It is okay to spend time by yourself, for example. If your friends are inviting you over for dinners, it is okay to go by yourself some nights, right? It is also okay to be polite and use a calm tone when you're having a rough day. Have regular family meetings to avoid misunderstandings. Report your concerns early on so that your homestay coordinator is aware about it, and that can help us step in whenever needed. Ask for help from us whenever you need it if you feel overwhelmed. We are here to support you and mediate. We will now be discussing travel forms. Over to you.
Thanks, Vaidehi. Welcome, everyone. To echo Nicole, I've got a bit of a rural section as well. I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes covering student travel, holiday coverage, and transportation. With student travel, it's really important to know that our program is flexible, and many students and homestays do take the opportunity to take their students places. It's very important to know that you pretty much need to think that a travel form is required for pretty much everything. When it comes to student travel, anywhere outside of the Lower Mainland or anywhere overnight, students must complete a travel form. Often we get asked about places like Whistler, Kelowna, or the interior, or Vancouver Island. Those would be considered outside of the Lower Mainland, and yes, you would need to submit a travel form. Students can get their travel forms from their school coordinators, or they can be found online. If you have a pen, they can be found out on our website at www.studyinlangley.com/forms/. All the latest forms are there for you. Travel forms must be completed and returned to their school coordinator or to our program district teacher coordinator, Ms. Sylvie DeFore, and her email is listed there, sdufour@sd35.bc.ca. And she really does like to have a minimum of 5 days, 5 business days, to ensure that she has all the required documentation and she has time to vet the trip and either decline or go back to you needing more information. So if you can try, the more time that you can give us, the better. It's really important to return both sides of the form. I know that on one of the forms, it just looks like a checklist on the back, but we do need that back as well. Because what it does is it acknowledges that you are aware of what you need to be able to complete your travel, all the documentation and the steps that you need to do. The documentation needs to be submitted at the same time of the travel request in order to be considered a complete travel form. This also helps Ms. DeFore to not have to be mixing and matching and finding which student goes with what family and document. So it's really important that she collects this information as a package, if you will. Often with student travel, there could be some high-risk activities involved or activities that may involve signing waivers. So we do need company waivers forms filled out, and anything to do with high risk, the high risk form to be submitted. So things like skiing and snowboarding, zip lining, boating. It's also important to remember that with any high risk activity, students can participate in quadding, they can participate on boat rides, but they cannot be the driver operator. Their medical insurance will not cover them as the driver. Students, when they have the opportunity to travel or request travel, it usually, there's usually 3 sort of veins where they can travel and who they're with. So one is a district homestay family. So it may be with you, but maybe your student has been invited to go along on a trip as a guest with another district homestay family, and that's okay. 2, a relative or close family friend of their natural parents. If this is the case, Ms. DeFore would want to make sure that Those individuals meet the requirements of being 25 years or older. They're submitting their government ID pictures. Sometimes she's vetting signatures. And then the other option that comes up sometimes for students is opportunities through their team sports or maybe a dance academy travel trip. Once a travel form is approved or declined, you will be notified by our international program office. What's new this year, or what we're excited to share, is that students are able to go skiing independently and have an independent ski form filled out this year. This is a new form. And what it does is it allows natural parents to give their permission for specific dates or for the full season. They don't have to submit a form if they're routine skiers, snowboarders every weekend. They just need to email Ms. Dufour with the new dates. So the base form can be done with natural parent permission for the full season. What we would like you to know is students in this category can go back and forth to our local mountains, Cypress, Grouse Mountain, or Seymour Mountain. They must have a working cell phone. So going back to Nicole's district rules, cell phones is number one on our list for a reason. It's there for you to be able to communicate with your students and then you ultimately keeping students safe. So we just want you to be able to have that conversation with the student to make sure that they arrive to the mountain when they're coming home, and then maybe some point during their time up there that they're communicating with you. We do recommend that they go with a friend. They can go alone, but there's always safety in numbers for sure. We didn't add Sasquatch Mountain located in the Hemlock Valley just out of Agassiz because there's no way for our students to get there on their own. And then just as a reminder, we want to make sure that you know they can't go to Whistler or Blackcomb on an independent ski form because it's considered outside the Lower Mainland. Next section is open-ended forms in general. So this is for students who may have relatives or close family friends of their natural parents living within the Lower Mainland. We want to make sure that they're filling out a form. It can also be open-ended, and you just need to let us know, Ms. Dufour, know that they're going next weekend or the following month on weekend number 3, because we want to keep track, and we also want to make sure that students are spending a balance of their time with their homestay family. We really don't want students to be going every weekend to stay at relatives or close family friends. But the option is there, and you don't have, you can do a base form if they're going to the same persons over and over again. This also applies to frequent travelers with homestays who may have cabins in the interior or in the States, or relatives that they often go visit. These types of things that are routine, you just have to fill out an open-ended travel form and specify the dates for each time of travel that you go to Ms. Sylvie Dufour. I'd like to move on to holiday coverage. We're really happy in this program that there is such flexibility for our families. We all know that things come up for families and for students. And sometimes we just need flexibility. Sometimes parents are winning trips, sometimes they have business trips or family emergencies where they need coverage, somebody to look after their student, because international students in our program cannot be left unsupervised alone overnight ever. So it's your job to make sure that they're well cared for if you can't. So we have a couple options for you. One option that works for some families and not all, you may have good family friends or tenants that you're very comfortable with who meet the requirement of being 25 years or older. Maybe you have grandparents living in the home or it's a neighbor who can move into the home and care for your student. In this option, your student remains at home. Your care is moving into the home and resuming responsibility for you. Option number 2 is that you may need to rely on another district homestay family to care for your student. There is a process, it's outlined in our homestay handbook, which you can also find online. What we usually recommend first is that you would ask your students to check with their friends who they know are in a district homestay, because let's face it, that's where they want to be. They want to be with their friends first. But if that's not possible, then you can consult your contact list, which you can ask your homestay coordinator for, and you can go through the list and start making some calls. It's really important to know that it is not the homestay's coordinator's role to ensure that you do have holiday coverage. We can assist you. We can recommend families that we may know have space. We can even go outside of your catchment area and we consult with each other. We may know a family in another zone that could cover for you. So we're happy to help. We just need you to know that your trip does not fall on our shoulders. Please make sure that you do contact your homestay coordinator and let them know of the final arrangements for your student, because we do need to make sure that we have your student tagged to the proper family in our system, and we need to let their natural parents and agents know that they will be in a temporary homestay family. I'd like to also take this time just to move on to transportation in terms of school busing in particular. I'd really like to extend a thank you to the parents who it seems like there's glitches in September. And I'd like to thank the parents who have stuck through with us through the process and working with transportation as we work together with our transportation department to smooth out any bumps. We're always growing and evolving in this area, and there's new suggestions coming up all the time. So thank you for that. We would like you to know that bus registration and the refund process still remains with the transportation department. And I have listed the transportation website there for you. And the school busing really does pertain to 3 of our high schools, and that's D.W. Poffey Secondary, Langley Secondary, and Brookswood Secondary School. So for those families, thanks again as we work hard to make this smooth for you to be able to host students if your student is bus dependent. We also would like to highlight that the school bus fees are $40 a month. And this is part of the registration process when you go through this in the website. And, this amount, I've been told by some that, we really don't want to be paying these fees. We are listening to you. We also have feedback where families are just so happy to have this as an option. So if your student cannot walk to school or is not taking a school bus and is relying on public transit, then we ask homestay families to pay $40 a month towards their bus pass, their compass cards, because that's what the school busing families are paying for the school bus fees. If you have any questions about transportation or you're frustrated, please do be in touch with your homestay coordinator so that we can work alongside you to resolve these issues. Thanks so much. Over to Tara with GuardMe. She's our special guest tonight, who will be talking to you with our medical insurance.
Thank you, and I'm just going to give it a moment while my presentation comes up. So if you can give me a confirmation if you can see it on both ends, that would be great. Let me just check. Okay, great. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Tara Hamilton Silverstone, and I'm from Keep Me Safe by GuardMe. And Keep Me Safe is the mental wellness support program for your students that you have access to, as well as your students. So I will go over what your students have access to, how they can access, and how you can access as well. So Keep Me Safe is available for students for anything that they would see a regular in-person counselor for, and it helps them with managing pandemic burnout if they're still having issues. I know some things are mostly back to what we thought they were before, but there's still some things that are lingering. So if they're having some issues with pandemic burnout, if they're looking for a school or life balance, managing their stress, depression, or anxiety. Culture shock, of course, is a big one, or having trouble adjusting to life here in Canada. If they're missing their family, having maybe challenges that they can't attend to if they are here, or relationship issues. So anything really that's getting in the way of them being a student and is getting in the way of them concentrating on why they're actually here. So the great thing about Keep Me Safe is it is available 24/7. So when your students aren't at school, or it's the weekend, it's the middle of the night, or maybe school is on break, they have access to Keep Me Safe and they can still talk to a counselor. So they have access on their phone, they have access through an app, which is really easy. And all of the counselors are qualified counselors, just like they would be in person. And they have access to over 60 languages. If they're not comfortable speaking in English yet, if they're speaking to a counselor, that's okay. They can request the language that they do feel comfortable with. And it can be accessed anywhere. So even if they're outside of Canada, if they happen to take a trip, or if they go back home over break, they can still access Keep Me Safe. Oh, and there's the doorbell. The hazards of working from home. It is private and confidential, so just like going to see any counselor, our Keep Me Safe counselors keep everything confidential. So our counselors will not let any school staff know or any homestay families know that the student is using the app because they have to keep that confidential. So we do like to let the students know that it is confidential, and even though it is provided by the school, that we won't know that, or you won't know that they're using it. Of course, this is obviously within the limits of the law, so if they are at risk to harm of themselves or others, then we would obviously have to break that confidentiality and call emergency services. That would be the only time that we would break that confidentiality, is if someone's life is at risk. So if you can, I don't know if you can scan the QR code here, but the Keep Me Safe program is available through the My SSP app. It's super easy. If you can't use the QR code, you can just search for My SSP in either the App Store or the Google Play Store. And this will give you access to the Keep Me Safe app. And it is available obviously 24/7, and it just makes it so much easier. So of course, a student can still call by regular telephone. I have the number for you that I'll share in a bit, but they can always call by regular phone. They don't have to use the app. If they want to use the chat function, they can use it through our website if they're on, say, a tablet or a desktop. So it's not the only way to access, but it's definitely the easiest. And students do have unlimited support, so they can call a counselor for as many different things that they need. So it's uncapped, there's no limit. They can call a counselor tonight and talk to someone. Maybe they're missing their family, they feel kind of lonely, but they could call tomorrow and say, you know, I'm really anxious about a test that's coming up. So they can call for different things as many times as they like, and we will help them work through that. Keep Me Safe is a short-term solutions-focused based counseling. So that means we always try to give students tools to be able to work through an issue so that they can, maybe if it comes up again, they have those tools in their arsenal to be able to work through that again. Sometimes students do need maybe some extra time to work through an issue that they're having. That's not a problem. So they, at that point, the counselor will schedule appointment-based support for them and they can speak to the same counselor, and that can be done by telephone or video or in person if it's available. So just different ways that students can access a counselor. Of course, there's community resources too. So if you or your student need help finding some community resources for that student, maybe they're looking for additional mental health supports, maybe within the community that they can't get from you or they can't get from school, you can call the family support service team through Keep Me Safe, and they can give you a list of anything that might be in the area that can help the student. And this just kind of gives you a demo of what the app looks like. So students can access directly from the app. There are lots of videos and articles that are on the app. So I really encourage you to have it on your phone as well, because that way you can be more familiar with it. So if the student needs it and it's kind of a rush, you know, you already have it on your phone, you know how to use it, you know how to access it. The app itself is available in English, French, Simplified Chinese, and Spanish. So their articles will change and they can read the articles in the language that they choose. And it'll show you, I think in just a second here, that you can actually call and chat directly from the app, and it makes it super easy. There's just lots of articles with different categories that they can search for. They're super short. And here we go. Go chat and call directly from the app, really easy. They don't have to close it and open up their phone. They don't have to close it and open up another app. And just depending on if they're here in Canada or not, it'll give them a different phone number. So going back to the language support, students can access Mandarin, Cantonese, Spanish, English, and French 24/7. So we always have those languages available for students. If they need a language outside of one of those, they can actually call and request whatever language they're looking for. We can also do cultural matching. So if they wish to speak to someone who is of the same culture that they share, they can make that request too. And here's the most important part, probably. This is how you can help a student connect with Keep Me Safe. So, you know, if it's after school hours, if it's on the weekend, school break, and you can't maybe get a hold of someone, or you're just not really sure how you can help them, you can help your student dial the phone number, which is here. You can help them download the app. You can help them access the website. And if needed, you can always do a three-way call. Hopefully that student is always with you. But it is easiest when you have it already on your phone, you're super familiar with it as well. So you also have access, just like any staff member with Langley, you have access to consultative support. So going back to the cross-cultural communication that was talked about earlier, if you are maybe having trouble talking to your student or connecting with your student, you know, there's obviously the language barrier and, you know, some cultural barriers. If you're noticing maybe they're not doing so well and you're not sure how to approach them or what to ask them, you can call for consultative support, and it's the same phone number as what you would call just for regular counseling for your students. And you can ask for consultative support, say you're a homestay family, and you're just looking for some support in connecting with that student and being able to support that student and to be able to help them in any way that they need, because maybe they're most comfortable talking to you and they're not ready to call themselves yet. So this gives you a tool in your toolbox as well to be able to reach out with your student and help your student. And that is all I have. And I will make this presentation available so that the staff can make it available to you as well. But I hope you find this to be a really great resource for you and your students. Obviously, coming to a new country and staying with a new family is a bit of a challenge. So, you know, just something that can help them along, you know, in the middle of the night or on the weekends, and, you know, something that you can use as well with your students. So I hope this is helpful for you.
Hey, thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just gonna wrap up our meeting. We have some prizes to give away. So we have a spin wheel that we're going to spin. 1 second. Just gonna see if I can share the screen. Perfect.
Okay, so I'll just spin the wheel. Kim will tell us what the prizes are. I'll spin the wheel and then we'll mail you out your prizes. So thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna do the prizes and then Brad will say a quick wrap up and you can go enjoy your night. So here we go. I'm spinning right now. Sorry, what's the first prize?
Subway, $30.
Jessica de Jesus. Congratulations.
Next prize, Boston Pizza, $50.
Alyssa Renko.
For those coffee drinkers, we have a 25 gift card to Starbucks.
Vanessa Downs.
Okay.
We have another $25 gift card to Starbucks.
Tanya Thiessen.
We have another gift card for some gas to Esso, $50.
Cynthia Wergeland.
Next on the list, some more coffee to keep you going, $25 to Starbucks.
Sarah Law.
Next on the list, treat your student to a Timmy's, $15 to Tim Hortons.
Jennifer Waterhouse.
We have another Subway gift card to give away, $30.
Sheldine Reish.
Let's go out to the movies. We have a $50 gift card to Cineplex movie theater.
Gloria Thang.
To Condine for $9.99, 2 team burgers at A&W, or make it 4 for $25 gift card.
Rondely Brema.
Back to Subway, $30 gift card.
Carly Smart.
Just to help with that gas tank, $50 to Esso.
Melissa Lee.
Back to Timmy's for a $15 gift card.
Cynthia Giesbrecht.
It's a rainy night. What are we gonna do? Go to the movies, $50 Cineplex.
Romano Rollo.
Back to Subway for a $30 gift card.
Christine Mantle.
Gotta keep this going. Need our Jabba. Starbucks, $25.
Kristen McDonald.
And how about you tell us what you buy with a $50 Amazon gift card?
Catherine Capers.
Again, is it gonna be groceries? Is it gonna be clothes? What's it gonna be? $100 to Superstore.
Sharon Trixo. That's it. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Congrats to everyone on the prizes. Brad's going to say a quick goodbye. And that's it.
Sure. So we just want to thank you for coming today. I just wanted to leave you with some last closing remarks. When the students first arrived here, some of the things that we saw were just amazing. Families coming with balloons, families coming with signs. The best thing that, and the thing I want to leave you with is that connecting with your student cannot be overlooked. That there's a critical period from when you first meet your student to you know, that first week in the home, and everything you do and everything you say at that time really impacts those people. To them, you are their person. You're the only person they have when they're here in this country. And that's how they view you as a homestay. So it's really important to remember that automatically they trust you, right? They get off that plane, they get off that bus, and they trust you. So creating a safe place, a warm place and a sense of belonging for these students, that's the best thing that you can do for them. Having that face-to-face time, and it's those little things that really help the kids find a sense of belonging. I want to thank you for coming tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. I hope you won a prize. And if not, that's okay. We'll try and get you on the next meeting. Okay, and have a great night, everyone.